Your daily digest of current events and commentary. This is Headlines with a Voice.
We the people of the United States of America make official charges of 28 counts of treason. When you say the Mueller investigation, remember it's actually the James Comey investigation to impeach, as it was called by Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, two of the key FBI members of a team that Comey led through Bill Priestap's counterintelligence department, which is protected by a national security blanket that allows them to conduct top-secret operations. From July 2016 on to today, Trump has been under attack from the small group, the Trump operation, the secret society, the investigation to impeach, the Carter Page dossier group, the George Papadopoulos FBI counterintelligence operation, as it was called by Peter and Lisa in the 372 of the 50,000 text messages released so far. Peter and Lisa went on to lead the Mueller investigation, which was also aided and supported by other members of the investigation to impeach, which essentially became a group we call the leaders of the coup d'etat, or the treasonous traitors. Any name that you give this group, it's still a witch hunt that's turned into a George Soros-style regime change. Most people don't understand that the Mueller investigation to overthrow a sitting president is slowing down because Mueller and Comey have been so desperate to cover their criminal trails that they've made horribly stupid mistakes all along the path to stop Trump at any cost. Now, their contriving efforts have become treason against the United States of America. This is a very large conspiracy, the like of which America has never seen before. When the criminals are listed that have already been fingered, the seeming just outcome would place two past presidents in prison. This is clearly evident in Susan Rice's email to herself, discovered and released by Senator Grassley, that shows Susan writing an alibi for herself that also clearly shows that Obama, Biden, Sally Yates, and Susan herself were all fully aware that Comey was conducting a coordinated attack against Trump with the fake Christopher Steele dossier. They all knew that the dossier was paid for by John Podesta and the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton's victory campaign through Mark Elias to Fusion GPS. In December of 2015, when the Democratic National Committee's server and emails were breached, not hacked, John Podesta realized what was inside of those messages and he knew that he needed an alibi. WikiLeaks shows the Hillary campaign had done an assessment of her weak points, and the one that would take her down was her connection to the Russians, especially her criminal participation in Uranium One. Thus, the DNC made a plan that involved James Comey running a multi-pronged attack against Trump, accusing Trump of being in collusion with Putin personally, and demonstrating that Putin is interfering in the presidential election to help Trump win. The bigger the lie, the easier it is to believe. We've seen this happen with the FBI undercover agent who busted the big Uranium One criminal takeover of American uranium and the subsequent payoffs to Hillary and Bill. The scheme that the Democratic National Committee concocted was amazingly bold and filled with disinformation and spin. James Comey threw every resource he had available to him at the FBI to help the smear campaign against Trump. The following is a list of crimes Comey committed in his attempt to help Hillary and John Podesta win the White House and continue the Obama dismantling and fleecing of America. Number 1. Around December 15, 2016, Comey responds to Podesta and Hillary and joins the DNC efforts to create a cover story for both the recent DNC server and email breaches and the need to create a narrative that covers Hillary's Russian associations and the Uranium One payoffs. Comey and Mueller are part of the Uranium One criminal assault on American uranium resources. Mueller carried yellow cake uranium to Putin for Hillary before Putin would agree to buy Uranium One through Rosatom. Number 2. The DNC, with the help of Alexandra Chalupa, decides to have her friend from the Atlantic Council, Dmitry Alperovitch, come and place Russian hacking footprints in the DNC server to blame the hacking on Russians who are trying to support Trump. Number 3. Alexandra Chalupa offers to return to Ukraine and create a ledger that proves that Paul Manafort took $27 million in illegal payments for the work that he did in Ukraine for Viktor Yanukovych when Manafort worked for him as a lobbyist. Podesta and Hillary know that Roger Stone, Paul Manafort's partner in the most powerful lobbyist group in Washington, D.C., had already groomed Trump to become president, and they had to take out both Stone and Manafort, and eventually they did just that. Number 4. Comey creates the Russian dossier plan. It's actually the Carter Page dossier, which would utilize his longtime FBI undercover employee, Carter Page, as the fall guy who supposedly was indicated as the go-between for Trump and Putin. According to the Page dossier, Page will get paid money from a Russian oil company, and Trump will be paid through Alfa Bank in Russia by Putin-friendly oligarchs who'll also be implicated in election meddling that supports Trump and harms Hillary. Number 5. Comey targets Manafort in the Page dossier, because Comey knows that Manafort has been under investigation by the FBI, the CIA, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and U.S. Treasury OIA since 2005, and it'll be easy to use FBI resources to surveil Trump through the already existing warrants being used to monitor Paul Manafort 24/7. Number 6. Comey gets a FISA warrant on Carter Page by using a FISA Title I warrant, claiming that Carter Page is a known Russian spy. This gives Comey complete surveillance of the Trump team once Page joins the Trump team in January of 2016. Roger Stone and Manafort were on board with making Trump president from the beginning. Manafort is the president maker who ran the campaign financing for Ford, Reagan, and Bush Sr., and then successfully got Trump through the Electoral College vote when many thought Trump would not make it. Hillary used Podesta, the other president maker, who runs the second most powerful lobbyist group in Washington, D.C., the Podesta Group, which collapsed under Mueller's investigation because Tony Podesta was found to be as guilty as Manafort and Gates. Number 7. Comey opens an extensive FBI investigation into Donald Trump and his father's background. This report was posted on the FBI site for a short time, and it stated that there was no dirt found on the Trump family. Comey struck out on that one and knew he had to take his game up a notch. Number 8. Comey calls in the rear guard, his good old friend Felix Sater, a criminal Russian that Comey has made an undercover agent long ago after Felix almost killed a person in a New York City barroom fight. Sater has been convicted multiple times since becoming an FBI stooge. Felix penetrated the Trump campaign when Mueller first heard that Trump might run in 2000, when Roger Stone and others encouraged him to do so. Felix brought Trump Russian investors for the Trump Soho Towers, and Felix has been foisting himself upon Trump ever since. Felix has been used repeatedly by Comey and Mueller over the years, though it doesn't seem to reach the news, nor has Felix been questioned by the Mueller investigation to impeach Trump. Felix Sater is the definition of Russian meddling in the election. Number 9. Comey had Felix Sater, on June 9, 2016, set up the fake opposition research meeting with Natalia Veselnitskaya, Rinat Akhmedishin, Rob Goldstone, Ike Kavaladze, and the Trump team, including Manafort, through whose phone they surveilled the meeting. Comey worked with the State Department to let the Russians have a special visa because Natalia, Rob, and Rinat were well-known Russian spies who were allowed into the country under false pretenses. This attempted entrapment of the Trump team by Comey was obvious because the text messages and content of the meeting were leaked to the press shortly after. Trump Jr. quickly sent out all of the texts and was transparent about the silly meeting, thus diffusing yet another Comey attack. Number 10. Comey had Felix Sater continue to involve the Trump team with anything Russian, including a trip to Moscow with 2 members of the Trump team to consider building a Trump Towers in Moscow, Georgia, and the Crimea. Nothing came of it. Number 11. Comey approached and paid Franklin Foer from Slate News Agency to supposedly discover by accident a direct line of communication between the Trump Towers and Alfa Bank in Russia that was supposedly sending money to Trump from 3 friends of Putin. Foer ran 2 articles as October surprises to take down Trump at the last minute of the election with proof that Trump was in bed with Putin. This Trump Tower server was supposed to be the icing on the cake of the Page dossier showing the big payoff mechanism. Number 12. On October 21, 2016, Comey gets the Page dossier under false pretenses, lies, and a complex set of conspiracies. The Carter-Page dossier is the insurance policy that Peter Strzok and Lisa Page text about that was the last resort to take Trump down and get Hillary elected. Comey came out immediately and debunked the Trump Tower server, saying that it was probably an advertisement campaign run by a company for Trump that works in Florida and has nothing to do with Trump. Comey had to do this because Foer released too much information and used too many IT experts who evidently said it was fake. Comey had to distance himself from the Trump Tower server thing because that part of the Page dossier got proven to be a fraud. Number 13. The Page dossier was never supposed to be published, and that's why Comey worked through the number 1 propaganda group, Fusion GPS, a criminal cabal of ex-journalists used by the most corrupt people in the world. Comey had Glenn Simpson, one of the owners of Fusion GPS, work with Christopher Steele, the foreign agent, the ex-British spy, who compiled the Page dossier from numerous sources and came to America to brief CNN, The Washington Post, The New York Times, Mother Jones, and Yahoo News on the fake contents of the dossier so they could run fake news stories. Christopher Steele testified in one of his 4 lawsuits concerning the dossier that it was only meant for the eyes of his clients. His client was John Podesta's DNC and Hillary's victory campaign through Perkins Coie and Mark Elias that are all complicit in the conspiracy. The clients of Christopher Steele's dossier at first claimed that they knew nothing about the $12 million Page dossier, which should be called actually the DNC dossier, or who paid for it. They perjured themselves in their testimony. When BuzzFeed, who was probably given a copy by John McCain, printed the Page dossier, all hell broke loose and Comey lost control of all of his many fronts that were attacking Trump. Thus, Comey's conspiracy turned into a big hot mess. All of the plans were poorly thought out and pathetically executed and were considered just a backup plan because they were all quite certain that Hillary was going to win. Number 14. Comey made sure the Sidney Blumenthal-inspired and Cody Shear-created dossier, the Shear dossier, was included into the Christopher Steele Page dossier. This Shear dossier combined what Bruce Orr got from his wife Nellie Orr's Fusion GPS opposition research into a Fusion GPS dossier of its own. Comey made sure Bruce Orr gave Christopher Steele a copy of the Fusion GPS dossier, as well as the previous DNC opposition research they had done on Trump before December of 2015. That was called the DNC server's Trump Oppositional Research Folder, which was released by WikiLeaks. There was also the FBI research done on Trump in January of 2016, which I previously mentioned. That FBI file had another file in it from CIA Director John Brennan, the person who admits to first receiving intel about Trump and Putin. Some claim John Brennan spent $100,000 as an initial payment of $1 million for Trump opposition research, which included an alleged video of Donald Trump in a hotel room with hookers, but no such tape ever surfaced. Number 15. Comey helped the DNC, Hillary Clinton, and Christopher Steele to create the Page dossier and set the wheels in motion to create a number of situations to frame the Trump team with Russian connections, including the Trump Tower server, getting the Russian spy Veselnitskaya and company into the country for the Trump team entrapment and framing, Carter Page infiltrating the Trump team, Alexandra Chalupa creating the Manafort fake ledger, Al Perovich planting the Russian footprints in the DNC server, Andrew McCabe's release of MS-13 gang members and the death of Seth Rich, arresting Yevgeny Nikulin in Prague to set up Michael Cohen as bagman for Putin payoffs, FBI investigation of Trump and his father, Felix Sater's many attempts to frame the Trump team as Russia-friendly, among others. Number 16. Comey had Felix Sater, his Russian spy and undercover employee, accuse Michael Cohen, Trump's attorney, of brokering a plan to lift sanctions from Russia in an attempt to make Cohen appear Putin-friendly so that Comey's Page dossier could include references to Cohen. This letter about sanctions never existed, but Sater spoke to the press about it numerous times, trying to show that Cohen and he were ready to lift sanctions, the very phrase used to go after Michael Flynn, who was also under a Comey surveillance warrant covering his communications because of his association with Turkey's president and his frequent interviews on Russia Today, an American-based Russian news agency where Flynn was a guest. Flynn went to Russia for a dinner honoring Russia Today, and he never filed as an agent working for a foreign country. Flynn's consulting firm made that mistake, just as Manafort, Gates, and Tony Podesta, by not filing. Number 17. When the leaks came out, leaks created by Comey, the Trump team made a copy of Michael Cohen's passport available to the news to demonstrate that he had never been in Prague. Yevgeny Nikulin was conveniently arrested in Prague after being hunted for a long time because he had hacked Dropbox and LinkedIn. Comey's FBI team went to Prague twice to the prison to visit this hacker, to offer him immunity and the witness protection plan if he would admit to being the DNC hacker who was hacking to help Trump and harm Hillary directly for Vladimir Putin himself. Twice, Yevgeny turned the offer down and then reported the scam to the news and had the proof to show that the FBI was in the prison twice. Eventually, Steele's Page dossier names Alexei Gubarov as the DNC hacker, and now Gubarov is suing Steele in London and America. The Alfa Bank Russian oligarchs Mikhail Friedman, Peter Avin, and German Khan are also suing Steele. Number 18. Comey engineered the entrapment and framing of George Papadopoulos, the most junior member of the Trump team who never even spoke with Trump, by enlisting a Russian agent named Joseph Misfud in London and again in Italy in March of 2016. This agent, who meets directly with Putin each year as part of the club he promised to get George into, the Valdai discussion group, also introduced George to the niece of Putin, who drew George into an entrapment of Russian espionage. George reported these meetings to his contact with the Trump team, and that was the end of his association with the team. The Russian spies dangled the missing Clinton emails as bait for poor George, but all George got was fired. Comey got a FISA Section 702 warrant on George in July of 2016. This was an FBI counterintelligence operation. George wasn't picked up and questioned until July of 2017, 1 full year after the warrant allowed Comey to spy on the Trump team based upon the entrapment of George the Naive. This warrant started as an illegal spying on the Trump team and then was used to create the Mueller investigation to impeach and the continuing harassment of a sitting president. The FBI counterintelligence operation, Comey, McCabe, Priestap, Strzok, Page, Orr, Baker, Carlin, Rosenstein, Lynch, Yates, Rice, Obama, Biden, etc., was the same group that exonerated Hillary's email crimes, the Hillary's pay-to-play State Department crimes, the Huma's email espionage, and much, much more that hasn't come to light. Number 19. Comey claims that the DNC is hacked in July of 2016, and Dmitry Alperovitch, a convicted Russian hacker turned FBI asset, discovers the supposed Russian hacker footprints, which in fact he placed there, when called by Alexandra Chalupa and Comey to analyze the breach in December of 2015. Number 20. Comey creates another cover story for the DNC hacking by inventing Guccifer 2.0, who claimed to have hacked the DNC before the Russians got there. Dmitry and Guccifer 2.0 go through a public debate online, and Guccifer 2.0 releases hacked information to prove his point. These hacks were nothing more than a cheap trick of rewriting what WikiLeaks had already released. Guccifer then hacks the Democrats in Congress and George Soros' Open Society meetings. None of the material released by Guccifer 2.0 is new or demonstrates Guccifer 2.0 was the hacker of the DNC. Comey claims that Guccifer 2.0 is a Russian hacker. Comey goes after Roger Stone and Trump in a ridiculous case involving Stone texting Guccifer 2.0. This and other things caused Stone to drop off the Trump team, making it necessary to now use Manafort more than ever. Number 21. Comey has Hillary text 8 messages from July until the time of the debates accusing Trump of having Russian ties. During the debate, Hillary can't stop saying that 17 U.S. intelligence agencies all agree that Putin has meddled in the election for Trump. Actually, Eric Schmidt gave $1.5 billion to the United States Digital Service to create a digital war room that coordinated the meddling directly from the White House in favor of Hillary. Number 22. Comey uses the small group to rewrite his exoneration speech, which subsumes the Department of Justice's duty to proceed with the investigation of the crimes committed with intent by Hillary's security violations and the espionage that accompany them. Comey's entire team got to edit out the words that made it seem that Hillary had committed crimes. Number 23. Comey covered for Bill Clinton meeting Loretta Lynch on the tarmac, and even took it upon himself to pronounce Hillary clear of any criminal actions with email servers, foreign gifts, etc., etc., etc. Number 24. Comey lied before Congress continually throughout all of this conspiracy and then leaked false material to the press to harm Trump's reputation and imply that Trump was guilty of some kind of crime. Comey lied in 3 congressional hearings in a row and wrote letters to correct his testimony twice. Number 25. Comey lied to the president 3 times, telling him that he was not under investigation. Trump was the target of a counterintelligence operation, not a criminal investigation, just as Hillary was not under a criminal investigation. She was involved in a matter, according to Loretta Lynch. Number 26. Comey continued his counterintelligence operation against a president-elect and then against a duly elected president. These are crimes that range up to the capital crime of treason and sedition being carried out by the director of the FBI and other agents. This is more than a conspiracy to resist. It's a complex attempted coup d'etat. Comey, Mueller, and their gangs are enemy combatants and should be arrested first and then questioned. They lost their rights after the conspiracy turned into a treasonous attack upon a sitting president. Mueller and his entire team know exactly what's going on, and they're complicit in these crimes. Their job was simply to defend themselves and hide the evidence that will put them in prison for life. And yes, There have been numerous attempted assassinations on Trump's life that were foiled, and no one was prosecuted. These attempts to assassinate a sitting president is all that's needed to demonstrate the seriousness of this coup d'etat and the extent to which these criminals will go to overthrow the United States government from the inside. Number 27. Comey perjured himself, exonerated Hillary, continued to attack Trump, continued to leak, continued to lie, and publicly was at war with Trump so that Trump would have to fire him simply because Comey was out of control. Once fired, as planned, Comey became the martyr of the Trump resistance movement. Comey then leaked his notes to the New York Times, as usual, and this leak got his best friend Mueller appointed by his second best friend Rosenstein to come and save Comey, start a special investigation, hide the evidence, and cover all the tracks. Comey essentially handed the investigation to impeach over to Mueller, and it continues to this day with nothing but embarrassing actions by Mueller that exonerate Trump and waste America's money. Number 28. Comey was given immunity by Mueller, which makes Mueller complicit with the coup d'etat. Mueller isn't questioning any of the true criminals who did meddle in the presidential election and were connected to Russia. Comey and Mueller are united again as best friends forever. Mueller hops on a white horse and rides into D.C. and busts Comey out of jail, and they have a showdown with Trump at the OK Corral. Sad news for Mueller and Comey is that Trump is the fastest gunslinger in the West. In an effort to make sure that the other criminal conspirators don't feel left out, don't feel that Comey and Mueller got all the credit for this attempted coup d'etat, I'd like to list some of the people already fingered in the conspiracy coup d'etat, and who in many cases have already come out with their public alibis in books, public statements, videos, and other denials. From the White House: Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, Loretta Lynch, Sally Yates, and John Kerry. From the intelligence community: James Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan, Mike Rogers. From the FBI: James Comey, Andrew McCabe, James Baker, Bill Priestap, Peter Strzok, James Rybicki. From the Department of Justice: Loretta Lynch, John Carlin, Dana Bonte, Bruce Orr, David Laufman. From the DNC: Hillary Clinton, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Donna Brazil, Tony Podesta, Sidney Blumenthal, Cody Shearer, Perkins Coie Law Firm, Mark Elias. And from Mueller's investigation to impeach: Robert Mueller III, Andrew Weissman, Preet Bharara, Aaron Zelinsky, and Eric Schneiderman. From Fusion GPS, working for the DNC and Hillary: Glenn Simpson and Nellie Orr. News agencies: CNN, The Washington Post, The New York Times, Mother Jones, Yahoo News, and BuzzFeed. Oh, don't forget John McCain. Once Comey and Mueller fall, so will Hillary and the gang. Trump is letting Mueller play out his hand because Trump already knows that at any time he could trump the investigation to impeach. With your daily digest of current events and commentary, this has been Headlines with a Voice.